In the cold silence of deep space, stars shimmered like distant lanterns in the dark. Far from Earth's orbit, there was only quiet, until space itself seemed to tear open. Without warning, dozens of massive alien warships dropped out of hyperspace. Each ship was the size of a city. Their black metal hulls glowed faint red like burning coals. Sharp angles, wide wings, hundreds of cannons along their sides. A war machine known for destroying worlds without mercy. Now they were here. The skies above Earth filled with red warning signals on every screen. Radar and satellite feed, the same message flashed. Zalroth, Imperial Fleet, detected. Incoming. Inside Earth's orbit, cities went into lockdown. Civilians looked up at the sky, confused and afraid. Some ran to shelters. Others stared at the breaking news in shock. In the control room of Earth's Orbital Defense Command, General Kayla stood still. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Around her, screens showed the incoming fleet. "They're not hiding anymore," said her assistant, Lieutenant Voss. "They're coming for us. Full strength." Kayla didn't respond. Right away, she just stared at the largest ship, the Empire's flagship. It moved like a beast. "They think we're weak," she finally said. "Let them think that a little longer." On the Empire's command ship, High Admiral Krath stood tall in front of a massive viewing window. Behind him, his officers worked at strange, glowing control panels. "So," Krath said with a smirk, "where is the mighty human defense fleet?" No one answered. There were no ships in orbit, no lasers fired, no response from Earth. Krath laughed. No ships, no fight. This will be over before lunch. He raised one hand and gave the order. "Send out scouts. Let's begin the sweep." On Earth, deep underground, another command center came alive. Giant screens showed the enemy fleet. Officers moved quickly between computers. Captain Rayner walked in, dressed in a black uniform with a silver patch that read, "Shadow Command." He nodded at General Kayla through the screen. "They've arrived." Kayla nodded back. "Are your people in place?" Rayner gave a cold smile. "They've been waiting." He turned to his crew. "Begin Phase 1. Activate Stealth Fleet." One by one, hidden shapes began to move in the dark space behind the moon, inside asteroid fields, and from within Earth's shadow. Human ships, invisible to radar and light, started to turn on systems. They had been hiding, and now they were waking up. Inside the stealth flagship Phantom Light, a voice said, "All systems online, weapons charged, enemy unaware." Rayner stood on the bridge, hands behind his back. "We let them walk in. Now we shut the door." Admiral Krath watched as his scout ships moved closer to Earth. They spread out, scanning the orbit, still finding nothing. Still, no human ships, his officer reported. "It's strange." Then, something odd happened. One scout disappeared. No explosion, no warning, just dash gone. Another followed. A third tried to turn, but suddenly its engines shut down and it drifted powerless. "What is this?" growled before anyone could answer. A transmission came in human language. Clear and sharp. "You came with your strongest. But you walked into our field. Launch the plan. Phase 1 begins now." Krath stared at the screen. "All ships, defensive formation," he shouted, but it was already too late. From the darkness of space, shapes appeared, one after another. They were smaller than Empire warships, but faster, and armed with strange weapons. Rayner stood on the bridge of the Phantom Light, watching. "Fire," he said. Beams of blue energy blasted from Earth's ships. Empire vessels tried to respond, but their systems glitched. Shields didn't activate. Weapons delayed. They don't have this kind of power. More human ships came in from behind, surrounding the Empire fleet. The trap had closed. 1. Zalroth. Battleship exploded, torn in two by a focused plasma lance. On Earth, the people watching the sky saw flashes. First fear, then awe. In bunkers and cities, civilians whispered the same thing. We were ready, they didn't know. The Empire's fleet, once proud and unstoppable, was now confused and under attack. Krath slammed his fist on the control panel. "We underestimated them. We thought they'd run," but he looked at the screen. Rayner's face appeared on it for a moment, calm, serious. Krath narrowed his eyes. "Who are these humans?" And far above, hidden in the stars, The humans kept coming. They had waited in silence. And now they spoke with fire. The space around Earth burned with light. Beams of blue and white fire flashed across the blackness. Zalrath's ships, strong and proud, were caught off guard. Human vessels came from all directions, fast, sharp, and deadly dot. Inside the human stealth flagship Phantom Light, Captain Rayner stood calmly on the command bridge. His dark uniform matched the dim lighting of the room. All around him, officers worked in silence, eyes focused. "They're scattering," said Lieutenant Hannah, watching the radar. "Their front line is breaking." Rayner nodded slowly. "Good, keep the pressure." One by one, human ships revealed themselves, each one fitted with technology the Empire had never seen. Their hulls absorbed energy fire. Their weapons ignored traditional shields. And they moved like shadows, striking and vanishing before the enemy could react, sir, said an officer. "The stealth fleet is holding. No losses so far." Rayner narrowed his eyes. "Let's make them think this is our full force." On the Empire flagship Judgment Flame, High Admiral Krath paced with anger. The calm, mocking tone he had earlier was gone. "How did they do this?" he barked. "Where did this fleet come from?" His tactical officer was shaking. "Sir, our scans showed no ships. We detected nothing." Krath slammed a metal fist on the console. "Nothing. They were right here. They were waiting." He turned to the screen, showing the human fleet. Their ships were smaller, but smarter. Their weapons were unpredictable. Something was wrong with this war. "Activate jammer countermeasures," he ordered. "Fight back." But it was no use. The Judgment Flame shook violently as another nearby Empire ship exploded, sending debris crashing into their shield. "Disrupted our sensors, our guidance, and our engines," the technician shouted. It's like they knew everything in advance." Krath's eyes burned with rage. "This is not just war. This is a trap." High above Earth, in orbit near the dark side of the moon, a new ship entered the battle. It moved without lights, without sound. It surfaced sleek, black, and smooth. It was the Vanguard HFY test ship equipped with classified Earth tech. It carried weapons that had never been used in open battle before. Vanguard Echo to Phantom Light came the transmission. "All systems ready." Captain Rayner answered, "Hold position." "Not yet. We want them to think they've seen all of us." Inside the Vanguard, Commander Ellis smiled. "Understood." The ship vanished from sight again, its presence hidden by advanced stealth fields down on Earth. News broadcasts showed shaky footage of the battle from long-range telescopes. People across the planet watched as flashes lit the night sky in underground command centers. Leaders stared at screens in disbelief. "They sent their strongest," said one general, "and we're pushing them back." "No," Kayla replied. "Softly, we're just beginning." She turned to her screen. "Captain Rayner, time to move to Phase 2. Rayner's voice came back cold and steady. "Copy. Targeting their leadership now." Strange human ships were closing in too fast, too focused. "They're heading straight for us," his officer warned. "They've found our position. They shouldn't know where we are," Krath snapped, but they did. Inside the Phantom Light. Rayner stared at the screen, showing the enemy command ship. "There you are," he whispered. "You hid behind your fleet, but we know your mind, your patterns, your pride." He turned to his crew. "Lock on." All ships hit their bridge section. We cut the head, the body falls. The human assault was brutal and exact, high precision. Strikes tore through the Empire's protective ring. Several escort ships fell within seconds. Inside the Judgment Flame, red lights flashed everywhere. Explosions rocked the floor. Krath held onto the rail, snarling, shield core down. "Main, cannon offline." Someone yelled. Another officer screamed. "Human ships incoming. They're targeting us directly," Krath growled. "Prepare to ram if you must." But it was too late. 3 human warships broke through the last line and fired together. Energy lances drilled through the Empire flagship's left side. Fire, debris, and metal flew into space. The mighty Judgment Flame spun out of control. Smoke pouring from its engines, Captain Rayner watched the flames quietly. He said nothing, only watched. Lieutenant Hannah looked over. "We got them. Their flagship is dead in space." Rayner nodded. "Never underestimate Earth again." He turned toward the next fleet cluster. "Let's clean the rest." Far away, hidden Empire scouts recorded the battle. They saw the fall of their best fleet, the death of their flagship, the rise of something new. A quiet voice spoke in the darkness of their command ship. We thought humans were soft, but they were waiting in silence. And now they speak with fire. The space near Earth looked like a graveyard of burning metal. Twisted pieces of the Empire's warships drifted in silence. Some still sparked with broken power systems. Others were torn wide open, their crews gone. The mighty Zalrith fleet, once a symbol of unstoppable power, was now scattered and confused. Captain Rayner stood at the center of the command bridge aboard the Phantom Light. His expression was calm, but his voice carried purpose. "They'll try to regroup," he said, "but they won't get the chance." Lieutenant Hanna tapped a screen. "Sir, enemy ships are moving toward Sector 9, just like we predicted." Rayner gave a small nod. "Good, trigger the net." In the black void between Earth and Mars, there was a region filled with drifting asteroids. Nothing special at first glance, but hidden inside those rocks were weapons. Hundreds of tiny machines, mines, cloaked defense drones, and auto-targeting lasers had been hidden there over months, placed silently. One by one dot, now they waited. The moment the Empire's ships entered the zone, a signal was sent. Dozens of asteroids split open like cracked eggs. Drones flew out, surrounding the Zalrath cruisers. Invisible mines exploded under their engines. Precision railguns activated from long-range platforms, striking the exact weak spots in their hulls. The trap had closed. Inside the Zalrith cruiser Iron Vow, Commander Trazon shouted over the noise of sirens were under attack. From everywhere asteroids, the sides, even below us. A young officer screamed, "It's a trap! They baited us!" Trazon's eyes were wide. "This isn't defense. This is a slaughter." On the screen, one of their escort ships tried to escape. It flew toward open space only to be hit by 3 railgun shells that tore it apart before it could finish jumping. The crew of the Iron Vow watched in horror as ship after ship was destroyed in seconds. Rayner watched from above. "They're walking right into every zone," Hanna reported. "Our traps are holding. No losses." Rayner turned to his weapons officer. "Target their communications. Cut off their scream." One shot from the Phantom Light hit the relay ship of the Empire fleet. Their long-range comms went dead now. The Zalreth ships couldn't even call for help. Rayner stepped forward slowly. "Let them feel what we felt when they destroyed Colony 9. Let them taste fear back on Earth." In a deep underground facility, General Kayla watched the battle. Unfold, her advisors spoke nervously. "Ma'am, if this keeps up, the Zalrith will have no way out." Kayla didn't blink. "That's the point." One of the younger officers asked, "Should we accept surrender if they offer it?" Kayla looked at him carefully. Would they have accepted ours? The room fell silent in space. Wreckage floated. Like ghosts, Empire soldiers tried to escape in light pods. Some begged for help. Inside the Phantom Light, a technician turned to Rayner. "Enemy life pods launching." Rayner didn't respond at first. "Tag their locations," he said quietly. "Rescue teams will decide." He didn't hate the Zalrath soldiers, but he would not let them forget what they brought to Earth. Commander Trazon of the Iron Vow tried to regain control of his ship. Fires spread on the bridge. Crew members screamed. One screen after another went dark. A massive explosion rocked the side of the ship. "We're done," someone shouted. "We have to surrender." Trazon grabbed a side rail, coughing smoke. "They knew everything. They set the field weeks ago." He looked into the dark stars. "We never had a chance." Far beyond Earth, a single Empire scout ship managed to escape the trap. It flew through the edge of the system, silent, recording everything. Inside, a lone Zalreth soldier spoke into a recorder. "They knew we were coming. Every move, every formation. We thought we were bringing the war, but the humans were ready for war before we even arrived." Back on the Phantom Light, Rayner turned to his crew. "Begin recovery, sweep the battlefield, prepare for next phase." Lieutenant Hanna asked, "Sir, do you think they'll send another fleet?" Rayner didn't answer for a moment. Then he said, "I hope they do." The battlefield was still. Debris floated across space like silent reminders of the Zalrith Empire's failure. Earth's stealth fleet held position, calm and patient, while the enemy's second wave prepared in the distance, sangrier, stronger, and more careful. "Captain, Raynor stood at the edge of the Phantom Light's command bridge, hands behind his back. "They're regrouping," said Lieutenant Hanna. "New readings show 2 carriers and 6 heavy cruisers. More disciplined formation this time." "They've learned," Raynor replied, "but not fast enough." Hanna leaned forward. "Should we hit them now?" Raynor shook his head. "Not yet. Let them come. Let them walk deeper into our graveyard." Far from Earth's orbit, beyond the asteroid traps and orbital defense zones, there was a quiet area of space called Sector 12 Delta. To most, it was just a stretch of nothing. No energy, no heat, no life. But Sector 12 Delta had a secret. Long ago, during the First Galactic War, Earth had tested a class of autonomous warships, smart, learning machines built for battle. But when the war ended, Earth shut them down. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable. So they were hidden, stored in cold drift, frozen and silent. Now they were waking up inside a quiet underground vault deep below Earth. General Kayla entered a secure chamber. 4 officers stood at control panels, hands shaking slightly. "Is the Ghost protocol ready?" she asked. One nodded. "Command codes confirmed. AI systems warming. Weapons still intact." "Should we activate?" Kayla looked at the flickering Hala of the incoming Zalrath reinforcements. "They sent a second fleet," she said coldly. "So we'll send our past." She placed her hand on the control panel and said, "Ghost fleet awaken." In Sector 12's Delta, the stars shifted. At first, there was nothing. Then, movement. Ships began to rise from the dark. Old ships, silent, strange. Their designs were unfamiliar, sleek, but ancient, with scarred armor, faded flags, and hulls shaped like blades. No lights, no signals, but their weapons were still there, waiting. One of the Zalrath scout ships passed too close. Its sensors flashed too late. A beam of white-hot energy cut through it in one strike. No warning, no lock. Dash on the ship vanished in fire. The command deck of the approaching Empire cruiser Vortex Claw, an officer cried out, "New contacts in known origin." Admiral Voss, commanding the second wave, stared at the screen. "What am I looking at?" he growled. The screen filled with dozens of fast-moving shapes, silent, no engine trails, just motion calculated, deadly motion. "They're there, not part of Earth's current fleet," the officer stuttered. Another Zalroth officer shouted, "Sir, one of them just disabled our forward cruiser with a single shot." Voss clenched his fists. "What kind of weapons are these?" No one knew. Back on the Phantom Light, Hanna stared at the display. "They're moving," she whispered. Raynor watched the radar. "Ghost fleet confirmed. They're online. They're not like us," Hanna said. "They don't ask questions. They don't wait." Raynor's voice was low. "That's why we buried them. But now we let them do what they were made for." The ghost ships attacked in perfect silence. No voices, no radio, no delay. They came in fast, weapons targeting engine cores, control bridges, shield reactors. Empire cruisers tried to respond, but their systems didn't match the speed. Their targeting couldn't lock. Their shields were bypassed by strange, piercing pulses one after another. Massive Zalroth ships were crippled or destroyed. Inside the Vortex Claw, Admiral Voss gritted his teeth. "Fall back," he barked. "Regroup behind the moons. Get us out of their firing zone." But the Ghost fleet followed. They didn't chase for glory. They didn't fight for victory. They simply executed. On Earth, General Kayla received the data feed. 7 enemy ships down, her officer said. The rest are in retreat. Ghost fleet hasn't taken a single hit. She nodded slowly. "Put them back to sleep once the job is done." The officer hesitated. "What if they don't go back?" Kayla's eyes remained on the screen. "Then we remind them why humans created them and why we feared them." In the dark of space, the Empire's second wave scattered. The mighty Vortex Claw was last to leave. Its engines damaged, its hull burned. Admiral Voss sent a single final message back to the Empire's high command. "We didn't face humans alone. We faced their past, and it wants war." From a hidden position above the battlefield, Captain Raynor watched the last enemy ship vanish into hyperspace. He said nothing for a long time. Then he turned to Hanna. "Let the ghosts rest. We'll handle what's next." She nodded. "We should be ready." "If the Empire sends a third wave, they won't," Raynor said. looked out the window toward the stars that were once calm. They'll need time to understand what just happened. The stars were quiet again, but not for long. After the brutal defeat of the Zalrath Empire's second wave, the remains of their shattered fleet drifted away, too damaged to continue. What they left behind was a graveyard of fire, metal, and smoke. And yet, Earth did not celebrate. Not yet. They knew it wasn't over. Inside the Earth, United Command Headquarters, buried deep under the Rocky Mountains, giant holographic screens showed live battle data. Satellites tracked every broken Empire vessel, every escape pod, every retreat signal. General Kayla stood at the front of the war table, eyes locked on a blinking red dot. "They're not gone," she said. "They're repositioning." A nervous aide replied, "Ma'am, if they send a third fleet, they won't send a fleet. They'll send everything in deep space at the edge of the solar system, but larger than Earth's cities." It had no weapons on the outside, no lights, but its surface moved, alive with strange energy patterns. They called it the Final Omen. Inside the beast of a ship, Supreme Overlord Gorok stood at the command platform, arms crossed behind his back. "The humans used tricks," he said calmly. "They used stealth, old machines, clever little games, the language of fire, back on Earth." Alarms screamed again. New enemy readings. "A ship?" Hannah asked, trying to zoom in. Raynor's voice was low. "That's not a ship. That's a statement." "Earth will fall," Hannah whispered. Raynor turned. "Not today." He opened a direct channel to the Earth United Command. "General Kayla, the real war just arrived." She nodded, face stern. "We've held back long enough. Online an ancient system called Project Warden, created long ago in secret, for a day just like this." From Antarctica, a massive cannon lifted from the ice, powered by the planet's magnetic core. From the Sahara, a tower unfolded and fired signals into orbit. Dozens of orbiting satellites lit up in the sky, forming a giant ring of protection. And then came to destroy us. But now you stand in our fire. It struck one of Earth's orbital defense towers and passed through it like air dot. Nothing happened at first, then the tower collapsed into dust. That weapon, it doesn't destroy with power, it unbuilds. Call in Spear Point 1 and Archangel 7. Full counterstrike. Use the Corlents, sir, that's untested tech. So was their weapon, he said sharply. From a secret dock hidden behind Earth's moon, two massive ships launched. One looked like a shining blade. The other looked like a floating fortress. They flew toward the Final Omen, weapons ready. On Earth, the magnetic cannon charged in orbit. Project Warden linked with satellite beams. In a perfect second, everything fired together, blue light, golden light, magnetic fire, a direct hit. The Final Omen cracked, its dark surface flared, energy screaming into space. Inside, Supreme Overlord Gorak stared at the readings. His face remained still, even as sparks burst across the walls. "Their planet fights," one commander gasped. "No," Gorak said, "their people fight. The planet is just the stage." Outside, Earth's ships moved fast, blasting into the broken holes left by the attack. They didn't stop. They couldn't. Raynor's voice echoed on every human channel. "We gave them a chance to walk away. They chose war. Now they get Earth's answer." The Final Omen exploded. It didn't shatter. It folded in on itself, as if space couldn't hold its broken pieces anymore. What was left was silence, and Earth's fleet, still standing, back in the command center. General Kayla lowered her head for a moment. "It's done." An aide asked softly, "Ma'am, do we declare victory?" She turned to the screen, now clear of red. "We declare survival." The sky above Earth was still lit with fire from the Final Omens. Destruction? But there was no time to breathe. Far out in the void beyond Pluto, new signals appeared. This time there was no slow buildup, no scouting. The Zalrath Empire had stopped pretending. They sent their full war force, hundreds of ships, a swarm. Some were old cruisers. Others were sleek, fast new models with glowing red hulls. At the center of the formation was something strange and artificial. Moon chained to a carrier. A weapon, no doubt. Captain Raynor stood silent, hands on the rail, watching the incoming storm. "So this is the final wave," he muttered. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Ready? The gravity wells." The officer beside him blinked. "Sir, we've never tested those in combat. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to confuse the enemy." They didn't fire projectiles. Instead, they twisted space itself. Invisible fields pulsed, bending time and distance for just a moment, enough to throw off engines, targeting systems and formations. The effect was instant. As the Zalrith fleet entered the zone, chaos erupted. Enemy ships jumped slightly off course. Some turned too early. Others overshot their targets. One cruiser collided with another, caught in an artificial gravity loop. Admiral Voss, now leading this final attack, slammed a clawed fist on his console. "What is this?" "They're warping space around us." An officer shouted. "Our missiles aren't hitting. Targeting is off by entire kilometers." But the shock units didn't make it far. Earth's fleet had evolved. What began as clever stealth and hidden weapons was now full-scale coordinated defense. Human ships moved in perfect timing, weaving through their own gravity traps. The Archangel 7, now Earth's flagship, led the charge. It fired a new weapon, a pulse of reverse gravity. One Zalrath battleship's armor tore from the inside out, as if crushed by invisible hands. From the surface of the moon, Earth's command towers tracked every move. General Kayla watched the screen without blinking. "We've studied them," she said. "We've mapped every pattern. Now we break them." A commander beside her asked, "Even with this many ships?" Kayla gave a cold smile. "Especially with this many ships. More targets, more chances." She turned to the comms officer. "Patch me through to the fleet." Seconds later, every human pilot, every ship, every satellite received her voice. "Today they throw everything they have, and we respond not with fear, but with focus. You are not just defending Earth, you are the line that holds back extinction." In the heart of the battle, Raynor heard the message and smiled slightly. He leaned in. "All units engage. No more hiding." And with that, Earth's fleet surged forward. Fighter wings swept through the storm. Long-range ships fired in rhythm. Gravity traps snapped shut behind enemy vessels, cutting off escape. The Zalrith ships fought back hard, sharper dot, and now the tide was turning. On board a burning Zalroth destroyer, a wounded officer crawled toward a console. "We must call for retreat," he whispered. "They're not just surviving, they're winning." Admiral Voss watched. As more ships blinked off his map, even his elite units were gone. He gritted his teeth. This was supposed to be a lesson. A younger commander turned to him. "It is," she said, "but not the one we planned." The human fleet closed in tighter. Each Empire ship that tried to escape was cut off by fast interceptors. The artificial moon weapon once held in chains. The Phantom Light and Archangel 7 fired together. Fleet was still there, waiting, watching, in the silent aftermath. Hannah whispered, "We've done it." Raynor didn't speak. He looked at the wreckage, the drifting pieces of machines, and pride. "No," he said. "We've shown them what happens when you try to erase us." He turned to his crew now. "Let them choose what comes next." The final wave of the Zalreth Empire had been shattered. Their mighty fleet, their gravity-crushing moon weapon, and their tactical advantage had all failed. But even as their warships burned across the stars, Earth's commanders knew one truth: the Zalrith would never stop, unless someone made them. Inside the stealth command deck of the Phantom Light, Captain Raynor stood quietly as repair teams rushed between consoles. Smoke still hung in the air. Damage alarms blinked in red. But the captain's voice remained steady. "They'll try again," he said, "unless we show them what we haven't used yet." Lieutenant Hannah looked up from her console. "Sir, you mean that weapon?" Raynor didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the sealed panel at the back of the command deck, a place no crew member had ever been allowed near. He placed his hand on the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a dark room. In the center stood a single launch key. Above it, a label read, "Project Sunspear for last use only." Raynor stared at it for a moment, then turned back to his crew. "We built it for one reason: to end wars. Let's use it to end this one." Deep in Earth's orbit, hidden behind a shielded satellite array, the weapon waited. It wasn't a missile, it wasn't a bomb, it was a ship. But it had no bridge, no crew, and no engines in the traditional sense. It was called Solar Wrath, a dark, silver, spear-shaped object, powered by an experimental sun core reactor designed to fire once, only once, and whatever it hit would cease to exist, not burn, not explode, disappear. On the retreating edge of the system, Admiral Voss of the Zalrath sat in silence aboard the crippled cruiser Gravewind. His last few ships limped beside him, leaking fuel and smoke. He stared at the quiet Earth ships now, watching them hovering like shadows in space. "We threw everything," he whispered, "and they're still standing." His officers said nothing. Then the alert rang, a new energy reading. Unlike anything ever seen, the signal came from behind Earth's moon. "What is that?" a technician said, voice shaking. "It's not a ship. It's something else." Voss narrowed his eyes. "It's their last card?" He was right. From the command bridge of the Phantom Light, Raynor's voice echoed across the human network. "This war ends now. Target locked." In the weapon control room, Earth's AI confirmed, "Target, Zalrath command carrier. Lock strength, 100%. "Fire," Raynor said. The Solar Wrath lit up at first. It looked like a crack of sunlight had burst behind the moon. Then the space around it bent, folded. A single pulse of light fired a narrow, precise line of energy, white-hot and silent. It crossed space in seconds. The Gravewind, still trying to maneuver, never stood a chance. The beam didn't explode on contact. It cut. The Zalrath ship blinked, twisted, and broke apart at a molecular level. Half of it vanished entirely. The other half drifted, glowing like dying embers. The pulse faded. Silence returned. Back on Earth, General Kayla stood up slowly from her command seat. "It worked," an officer said softly. "No," she replied. "It warned them." She turned toward the Galactic transmission tower, open channel 2 remaining enemy ships. The Comstech nodded. Seconds later, Kayla's voice rang out across space. "You brought your best. You brought your fury. But Earth is still here. Return to your empire. And tell them, next time, there won't be a warning shot." Among the last remaining Zalrath ships, panic spread. The captains whispered of Solar Wrath, of an enemy that hid weapons too strong to understand. Admiral Voss's remaining officer said quietly, "Shall we send the retreat signal?" Voss closed his eyes. Yes, and the signal was sent in orbit. Raynor watched the radar as the last red dots began to vanish. Hannah spoke quietly. "They're leaving." Raynor nodded. "Good. Let them remember today." Then, as his ship drifted silently above Earth, he finally allowed himself a small breath. It was not peace yet, but it was the beginning. The stars had gone quiet again, but this time, for real. No enemy warships approached, no weapons fired, no weapons fired, no signals jammed the skies. The Zalrath Empire's once proud fleet had been crushed. Their weapons were outmatched, their admirals scattered or dead, their pride broken. But there was one final act left to play. Inside the human flagship Phantom Light, Captain Raynor stood on the darkened bridge. All systems were stable. The crew worked in silence, monitoring retreating enemy signals. Lieutenant Hannah looked over from her console. "We're picking up a distress signal, sir. It's coming from the remains of the enemy command ship." Raynor raised an eyebrow. "Open channel." The screen lit up, revealing a flickering, smoky image of a Zalrath bridge. Fires burned behind the figures, power flickered, and in the center stood a tall, injured figure, Admiral Voss. His once-polished armor was scorched and torn. His face, usually proud and cruel, was pale and tired. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten. He spoke slowly, as if every word was heavier than the last. "We're supposed to break. Humans were supposed to kneel. But you waited, you planned, and you broke us." He coughed, blood dripping down his chin. "We brought fleets. You brought silence. We brought fire," you answered with. "Something worse. You let us believe we were winning." That was the cruelest part. The signal cut out. The final Zalrath command ship's life signs went dark. Hannah turned to Raynor. "He's gone." Raynor nodded slowly. "They all are." Across the battlefield, Earth's cleanup fleet moved in. Human commando teams boarded disabled enemy ships. Doors were blown open. Survivors were taken into custody, most too shocked to resist. The Zalroth soldiers were broken in more ways than one. They had expected a short, glorious war. What they found instead was fear. Inside a captured enemy cruiser, Commander Alias led the boarding squad. Her voice echoed over the comms. No. Resistance. Most of them aren't even talking. They thought we were prey, she added. They didn't know we were watching them long before they moved. On Earth, the public watched through the news screens, footage of retreating ships, of destroyed alien weapons, of humans standing tall in black armor, side by side, holding the line. From the steps of the Earth Unity Council headquarters, the President addressed the planet. We did not choose this war, but we chose to end it. Let today stand not as a victory of weapons, but as a victory of will. Crowds erupted in cheers, but in quiet homes and bunkers. Many simply sat in silence. Just how close the end had come. Later that day, inside the Earth Military Archive, a digital recording was added to the record. A message from Captain Raynor, speaking softly to the future. We fought them not with anger, but with preparation. They had weapons, we had reason. They had pride, we had patience. This wasn't a battle, it was a lesson. And far out in the galaxy, as fragments of the Empire's message reached back to their homeworld, the Zalreth High Command gathered in a cold, silent hall. No one spoke, not yet, but they all saw the final transmission, the explosion of the final omen, the failure of their fleets, the surrender of their greatest admiral. One old general whispered the words written at the bottom of the human transmission. Next time, there won't be a warning shot. And across the stars, the Empire 4, the first time in history, did not answer back. The last Zalreth ship had vanished into the cold edge of space, limping home on shattered engines. No new fleets followed. No counterattack came. The war was over, but its message was just beginning to travel inside Earth's galactic communications. Array, a massive tower hidden in the icy mountains of Greenland, engineers worked quietly. The signal was ready. A single broadcast beamed in all directions of the galaxy. Captain Raynor stood at the center of the transmission room, wearing his black command uniform. Beside him was General Kayla, arms crossed, face calm but serious. Raynor nodded to the technician. The galaxy's species would all hear the same message, translated into 1,000 languages, and the message was not about victory, it was about what happens when you push humans too far. The message played to any empire that listens. To those that don't, we are Earth. You thought we were weak. You believed we were unprepared. But when the skies burned, we didn't run. We built in silence. We trained in the dark. Came, we stood alone and we did not fall. So to the next power that thinks to test us, know this: Earth does not bow. Earth does not forget. And Earth is not easy. The war is over. Remember the cost and choose peace. The message ended. Silence returned. Not for long, in the far reaches of space. Strange species received the signal. On the peaceful trade world of Jetchar, merchants paused as the message played in the city center. A father turned to his child and said, "They stopped the Zalreth, alone." In the distant Kaldron Syndicate, warlords watched with uneasy expressions. They destroyed the final omen. No, they chose to destroy it. That's different. Even on the Zalreth homeworld, the message arrived, broken, cut in places. But the meaning was clear. Some in the Zalreth military demanded a new war. Others, silent, humbled, said nothing. In the central chamber of the Zalreth War Council, a young strategist dared to speak. Perhaps we never understood them. They don't conquer. They don't shout. They wait. And now, they're remembered back on Earth, in a quiet military garden outside New Berlin. Raynor walked alone. He paused at a wall engraved with the names of those who had fallen. Hannah approached slowly behind him. Nodded. Yes, but they'll always wonder, she added. What else we're hiding? What else we didn't use? Raynor gave the smallest smile. That's good, he said. He looked at the stars overhead, no longer filled with war, but glowing with possibility. We fought to survive. Now we build to lead. The war was over. The Empire had fallen back, its fleet scattered, its pride shattered. But Earth didn't celebrate with parades. There were no fireworks in the sky. The world had changed. Humanity had changed. And now, the galaxy watched them differently. Aboard the Phantom Light, Captain Raynor stood once more at the bridge. For the first time in weeks, the screens were quiet, no alerts, no alarms, only calm, drifting stars ahead. "Status?" he asked softly. Lieutenant Hannah smiled. "All systems green. No signs of enemy activity in local or deep space." It was silence for a moment. Then Hannah spoke again, voice thoughtful. "Do you think they'll try again, sir?" Rayner looked out the window, toward the stars. "No," he said, "not soon. They'll remember what we did here, what we are." On Earth, General Kayla stood before the Earth Unity Council. Behind her were images of the ruined Empire fleets, the destroyed warship Moon, and the humans who had stood against it all. She spoke with calm force. This wasn't just a war for survival, it was a test, and not just for Earth, but for what we stand for. We didn't conquer. We defended, and we won. She paused, looking at each leader in turn. The galaxy now knows our name, and they know that when Earth prepares, Earth endures. So let us rebuild. Let us lead, not with fear, but with respect. The chamber erupted in applause. Weeks later, across alien worlds, the story of Earth spread like fire. Children on distant moons played the human defense, with toys made to look like stealth fighters and solar LANCES. In backroom political meetings, older civilizations warned each other. Don't poke Earth, they don't bark. They bite silently. Pirate bands avoided human patrol zones. Slavers moved their operations far from human-colonized systems. The lesson had been learned, but Earth had not stopped on a far-flung outpost. Beyond Neptune, new ships were being built faster, stronger, smarter, not for attack, for protection, for exploration. For peace through strength, in orbit, a new beacon was activated, a symbol of everything Earth had fought for, a silver tower that spun gently, bearing a message in every language. We are Earth. We are ready. We are not alone. In a quiet room deep in the heart of the Phantom Light, Rayner recorded his final log. His voice was calm, clear. The Zalrath Empire came with arrogance. We answered with silence, then strategy, then fire. We didn't destroy them because we wanted to. We did it because we had to. If they return, we will not fear them. If others try, they'll see the same truth. Earth is quiet, ... until it's not. And finally allowed himself a long breath. Hannah entered moments later, smiling gently. We received a message from the Andari Republic. They want to talk peace, trade, science. Rayner raised a brow. Good. He looked out at the stars once more. Let them come to us now, not with warships, but with open hands. Rosedot, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as a force no one would ever underestimate again. The end. But in the stars, legends live forever.